Welcome to a new edition of the Neon Jazz interview series with jazz drummer, composer, arranger, and educator Bobby Wiens. We caught up with him in mid-November 2020 to talk about his latest 2020 CD, Talking Drums, during this odd COVID-19 world we're living in. He grew up in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, and has performed extensively on the concert stage and in the studio. He has led several bands that perform his eclectic stockpile of compositions and arrangements. He has also had the privilege of working as a sideman with a number of world-class musicians throughout Canada and the United States. Get to know him and dig this interview.
Thanks for taking a minute out from Neon Jazz.
Sure, yeah, no problem.
Really enjoyed the album. It was a great listen, so I'm looking forward to getting into the album and into your life and music. So thank you, I appreciate it. Before we get into the actual artistic approach to the album, it's coming out during a pandemic. What are your thoughts on that?
My thoughts on putting out an album in the middle of a pandemic?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's, I mean, it kind of just fell in my lap in a way because I just finished my master's degree out at UNC, University of Northern Colorado, out here in Greeley. So obviously at the end of a, jazz studies master's degree, you're meant to give a performance recital as like a documentation of your work and time at the school. So that ended up being canceled. So this album actually ended up being something to do. It wasn't initially going to be an album. It was just a recording session scheduled for when it was safe to actually go indoors again, which was in July, the middle of the summer. That's when they opened back up. So I just was able to get into the studio, and there was this energy with the band that I wanted to capture because we had just started playing together again. We would like meet outside and sort of space out from one another and just play, and it was just such a raw and deep emotional experience because we had been seeing it for so many months. I just wanted to capture that. So the pandemic definitely contributed to that aspect of putting out an album. My other thoughts on it are that I think it's just really needed for everyone just to, and like, that's why I appreciate what people like you are doing too, because I think it's just a necessary art form to have people connect and go deeper maybe into themselves. I don't want to just call it a distraction because it's much more than that, but it certainly offers that too, because there's a lot of things going on right now, especially in the States, that we need to remove ourselves from time to time. I think putting out music during this time has kind of allowed me to do that myself. It's given me, a project to work on. So that was helpful, especially when things were so slow in terms of not having gigs. There's many gigs. And it was those are kind of some of the things I think that were driving me to actually release it as an album. But I do think that hopefully for other people, and I've actually gotten private responses from people since it's been out, just saying how life-giving it's been for them to hear this music and how it's brought them joy. And I think that's the point, is I want people to listen to it and be able to get in touch with an array of emotions that are deeper than just sort of the mundane of day to day, which can be a drag sometimes. So I think that's kind of a bit anyway.
Talk to me a little bit about, you grew up in Calgary. Talk to me a little bit about how you got into music and kind of your childhood.
Yeah, okay. So initially, my parents both were very supportive and still are. But they sort of, I use the word forced. They made me take piano lessons. I didn't enjoy it. I enjoyed music and I enjoyed listening to music, but I was also into sports, and I felt at that time when I was like between the ages of like 5 and 12 that having to take piano lessons was a distraction from playing sports and doing things with my friends. But that being said, there were moments where I think I really enjoyed it. But all that said, when I finally was allowed to play the drums, which was the deal we made, that I had to get to a certain level of piano before I could pursue another instrument. That was just the deal my parents made with me, for better or for worse. I think for better, because it helps to have that foundation of playing the piano. I think in the end it definitely helped helped me as a drummer. But so when I was 12, I was able to start actually taking drum lessons, and it just opened things up for me, and I loved it so much. So that's how things got started for me, and I kind of just kept the momentum going from there. So the drums really, from the age of 12 until now, that's been what I've been pursuing and loving and trying to keep getting better at.
So did you come to the States for school?
Yeah, so that was a part of it. So my wife is American, and after we got married, I was able to immigrate here from Canada. So we lived in California for a year, which is where she's from, and I was looking at graduate programs down here in the States. But there was a few reasons, but that was a big one why we decided to come here, is because I was looking at programs, and specifically looking at UNC. It helps being a student and having the green card. I have a lot of friends who are international students and are just dealing with a lot of things with their visas that are and restrictions, and some of them have had to move back to their countries, and it's sad to see. And I guess I'm thankful that I was able to pursue a different avenue to be able to stay here and continue working here.
What do you like the best about being a musician?
There's so many things. I think it continually, it's not like every day is just full of joy, but most are, and I think it's something that I love doing, and I've never really questioned this career path, because I've always loved it so much, and I've been so passionate about it and hungry to keep growing and getting better. And I think that's part of maybe what I love so much about it, is that it's kind of what you make of it, and it's a lot to do with your attitude towards it and your attitude towards other people. But I think it just allows you to, it's a vehicle to get kind of into deeper touch with yourself and with other people. And I think the deepest music and the best music we listen to happen from a place of the musicians being compassionate and empathetic towards one another. That's not always the case, but I think my favorite stuff happens when that's the vibe. And I think it kind of is refining as a human to be in this career. There's a lot of challenges, and you have to be creative and find different ways to support yourself and make money doing this, especially during a pandemic. And so it's always a challenge, and I love that about it. But mostly it's just I love the drums and the challenge that offers, and also the communicative aspect that instrument, has, and that I can continue to pursue that. And I love that pursuit, I suppose. It's one way of putting it.
Yeah. So what was the first live jazz show you ever saw that made you think this was something you wanted to do?
I saw, it's funny, when I was younger, I saw the Wayne Shorter quartet, this quartet that's still that same configuration with Brian Boyd and Patitucci, Danilo Perez, and Wayne, and I had no idea what was going on. I was pretty young, and they're not playing straight ahead jazz, as you know. They're playing Wayne's tunes, which I had heard on records, but I didn't recognize any of them because the way they play them is obviously a lot different than what you hear on those Blue Note records, right? And there's newer stuff too. But I was so drawn to the emotion and the interplay, and it was unlike anything I've seen. I had seen, different things and watched videos and stuff, but this was like being in the room in the concert hall. It was actually in Saskatchewan. It was in Saskatoon for the Jazz Festival. I don't remember. It was a theater. It wasn't their main venue that they had the big shows at, but it was at this other theater, which sounded great, and it was really dark, and there was just I felt like I was just transported to another dimension listening to them. I was actually tearing up, and I didn't know why. It was an incredibly powerful experience that I'll never forget. Even though I didn't know theoretically or anything what was happening, or even sometimes the rhythm I couldn't understand. I was connecting to it, and I think that sort of has acted as an inspiration to me as I've gone forward from there.
When we do get done with COVID and we get back to live music, what do you hope both the musician and the audience realizes about this time away?
Yeah, I've already seen how people all have been missing it, and because when there are a few gigs happening, like there's some, I feel like it's going to be less and less as the weather gets colder up here in Colorado, because a lot of my gigs over the summer were just outdoors. They were, socially distanced, outdoor, so it was fairly safe. So and people would always come and talk to me and just say how much they miss this, because it's such a community aspect, and it's this dialogue between performers and audience. So people have already expressed that to me after just a couple months of missing live music, and I just hope that people maybe remember that, audience members and musicians, just this pure joy and energy of this experience of music making, which and hopefully the community aspect. I hope we can take those elements that maybe we've come to see a little bit more clearly during this time, and keep that going as we go forward into the coming months and years of live music.
So everyone has a perception of you, your family, your friends, your fans, but you're living your life. Who do you think you are?
Oh man, what a deep question. Well, in terms of music or as a person, or do you want to leave it open?
Yeah, I'll leave it open.
Okay. I want to be, I'll just say I am someone who is compassionate. I want to live from that perspective of seeing this light and this divinity in everyone around me. I'll tell you, it's been especially challenging during these last couple weeks and months where, I don't know, you know how election season is in this country. It's crazy, and there's, especially now, there's just so much division, and it's so easy to think dualistically in terms of like, this is me and what I believe, and I'm right, and this other group is wrong, and I hate them for not agreeing with me. And I want to be someone who kind of breaks beyond that, even if I don't agree with what everyone believes or how they align politically. I want to be able to see this light and love them despite that. So I guess that's who I am. I strive to be more of that I am a loving person, and I try to let that infect my art and my relationships, and I'm certainly not perfect at it, and I'm just trying to grow in it, but just trying to be that kind of person in this life, and be a good friend and a good owner to my dog, and a good husband to my wife. And I don't know if that's where you were going with that, but that's
no, that's great.
Some of the things that came to mind.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's great. That was my final question. Hey, thank you for opening up about your music and about your life in music. I appreciate it.
Sure, yeah, anytime. I appreciate you taking the time to ask those questions and interview me.
Thanks for listening and tuning in to another Neon Jazz interview, where we give you a bit of insight into the finest players in Calgary, Kansas City, and spots all over the world, giving fans all that jazz. And thanks to Bobby for his time, music, and story. If you want to hear more interviews, go to Famous Interviews with Joe Domino in the iTunes Store. Visit neonjazz at youtube.com, and for everything Neon Jazz all the time, go to the neonjazz.blogspot.com. Until next time, enjoy the jazz, my friends.
Neon Jazz.